It's just money. God, you're so materialistic, sister said when I refused to pay her rent. I'm done being their ATM. Then at 2 a.m. my phone rang with her name. My name is Ethan. I've always been the reliable one in our family. The steady rock everyone leans on when things get rough. My sister Vanessa is the opposite, a whirlwind of impulsive decisions and dramatic fallout. 4 marriages by 35, each one promising to be the one that would finally bring her happiness and stability. Each one ending in spectacular fashion, leaving emotional wreckage in its wake. I'd lost count of how many times I'd helped her pick up the pieces. The loans, the late-night phone calls, the temporary housing when she had nowhere else to go. I kept telling myself it was what family does. We support each other. We forgive. We try again. But there's a line between supporting and enabling. I just didn't know where it was, not yet. When Vanessa met Mark, I wanted to believe things would be different. He seemed more grounded than her previous husbands, had a steady job in construction, looked her in the eyes when she spoke. He's different, Ethan, she told me over coffee, her eyes bright with that familiar hope. He actually listens. He wants the same things I do. I nodded, keeping my doubts to myself. I'd heard this speech before. Their wedding was small, just family and a few friends at our parents' backyard. Mom cried, but I caught the worry lines around her eyes. Dad smiled stiffly for photos. We were all thinking the same thing, but saying nothing. 3 months after the wedding, Vanessa called me. My heart sank when I saw her name on my phone screen. Ethan, Mark is taking me to Thailand. Her voice bubbled with excitement. 2 weeks in paradise. It's going to be amazing. My stomach tightened. I already knew what was coming next. That sounds great, Vanessa. The thing is, we're a little short on funds, just temporarily. Mark's waiting on a big payment from his last project. Of course he was. How much? I asked, my voice flat. 6,000 just to cover the resort and flights. We'll pay you back the minute we return, I promise. $6,000, not a small amount. Money I'd been saving toward a down payment on a house, my future. I should have said no. Every rational part of my brain was screaming to refuse. But then I thought, what if this time is different? What if Mark really is the one who helps her turn things around? I'll transfer it today, I said. The silence that followed told me everything. She'd expected a fight, prepared her arguments. My easy capitulation caught her off guard. Thank you, Ethan, I swear this time. I know, you'll pay me back. I hung up before she could hear the resignation in my voice. For 2 weeks, my Instagram feed filled with their vacation photos. White sand beaches, turquoise waters. Vanessa and Mark toasting with colorful drinks at sunset, looking like the perfect couple, living their best life on my dime. I tried not to feel bitter, reminded myself that my family supports each other. Maybe this vacation would strengthen their marriage, give them a foundation to build on. 3 days after they returned, Vanessa called again. My blood went cold. No, not again, not so soon. We're in a bit of a tight spot, she said, her voice small and practiced. The rent is due and Mark's client still hasn't paid him. Just $2,000 to tide us over. We'll pay you back everything at once. I promise. Something in me finally snapped. No, the silence on the other end was heavy. What do you mean, no? Her voice had an edge now. I mean, no, Vanessa. I already lent you $6,000 for your honeymoon, money you haven't paid back, money you promised to return immediately. Are you serious right now? It's just money, Ethan. You've always had plenty, never had to struggle a day in your life. My jaw clenched. I'd worked 2 jobs through college, lived in a studio apartment with mold in the bathroom for 3 years to save money, driven the same car for a decade. I'm sorry about your rent, I really am, but I can't keep doing this. Her laugh was bitter. Wow, so this is how it is, your own sister facing eviction and you won't lift a finger. I closed my eyes, the guilt trip, her favorite tactic. You should talk to Mark about that payment he's waiting for. You're such an entitled asshole, always judging me, always thinking you're better. The call ended abruptly. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling both terrible and relieved. I'd finally said no, set a boundary, done what I should have done years ago. The text messages started an hour later, first from Vanessa, then from Mark. Words designed to cut deep, to make me question myself. How can you call yourself family? You've always been jealous of Vanessa. Guess we know who to count on when times get tough. Selfish prick. I turned off my phone, poured myself a drink, tried to ignore the knot in my stomach. They didn't stop at texts. They called our parents, our cousins, mutual friends, spinning a story about how I'd promised to help with their rent, then cruelly changed my mind. How they were facing eviction because of me. My phone rang. Mom. Ethan, honey, what's going on with Vanessa? She says you promised to help with their rent. My chest tightened. That's not what happened, Mom. I lent them $6,000 for their honeymoon. They promised to pay it back immediately. Now they want more. A heavy sigh on the other end. Oh, Ethan, you know how she is. You've always been the responsible one. Couldn't you help just this once? Just this once. As if it were the first time, as if it would be the last. I've helped dozens of times, Mom. Thousands of dollars. None of it paid back. I'm done. The family dinner the following Sunday was excruciating. Vanessa and Mark showed up late, faces arranged in expressions of wounded dignity. Dad asked about their honeymoon. They raved about Thailand, not a word about who paid for it. I pushed food around my plate, tried to ignore the tension that hung over the table like a storm cloud, until Vanessa cleared her throat dramatically. So we have some bad news, she announced. We're being evicted from our apartment because someone refused to help us when we needed it most. All eyes turned to me, the villain of the story. That's not fair, Vanessa, I said quietly. I already lent you $6,000, money you promised to pay back immediately. She rolled her eyes. It's just money, Ethan. God, you're so materialistic. Mark leaned forward. We would have paid you back, man, once my client comes through with that payment. And when exactly will that be? I asked. They exchanged glances. Soon, Mark muttered. I couldn't take it anymore. There is no client, is there? No big payment coming through. You never intended to pay me back. The flash of guilt across both their faces confirmed everything. How dare you? Vanessa's voice rose. After everything I've been through, 4 failed marriages, and now you're trying to ruin my 5th. What kind of brother does that? My father's hand slammed down on the table. Dishes rattled. Everyone froze. Enough! His voice was quiet but firm. Vanessa, that's enough. Her mouth opened in shock. Dad had always taken her side, always made excuses for her. You borrowed money from your brother for a luxury vacation. You promised to pay it back. You didn't, now you want more. He shook his head. I've watched this pattern for years. We all have. It stops now. Tears filled her eyes. So you're taking his side against your own daughter. My mother reached across the table. Honey, we love you, but your father is right. This pattern has to stop. Vanessa stood up so suddenly her chair toppled backward. I can't believe this. My own family turning against me when I need them most. Mark looked uncomfortable, caught in a family drama he hadn't bargained for. Come on, babes, let's go. He tugged at her arm. She yanked away from him. No, I want them to admit what they're doing, abandoning me when I'm about to be homeless. Do you even care what happens to me? Dad stood slowly. You're welcome to stay here until you find a new place. But there are conditions. No more handouts. You and Mark need to find jobs. Real jobs with steady paychecks, not these vague projects and opportunities you're always talking about. Her face contorted with rage and disbelief. This is your fault, she hissed at me. You've turned them against me. She stormed out, Mark trailing behind like a shadow. The silence they left behind was deafening. I'm sorry, I finally said. I didn't mean for this to happen. My father's hand rested heavily on my shoulder. It needed to happen, son, for everyone's sake. 2 weeks passed, no word from Vanessa or Mark. I tried to convince myself it was for the best, that we all needed this break from the drama. I focused on work, on rebuilding my savings, on moving forward. Then my phone rang at 2 a.m. Vanessa's number. I almost didn't answer, almost let it go to voicemail. But what if she was in real trouble this time? Hello? Sobbing on the other end, broken, gasping sobs. Vanessa, what's wrong? Mark left me. Her voice was barely comprehensible through the tears. He's gone, took everything, I have nowhere to go. My heart sank. Despite everything, I felt a surge of protective instinct. My little sister alone and in pain. Where are you now? A motel, but I only have enough for tonight. Ethan, I'm pregnant. The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant, are you sure? Yes, 8 weeks. Mark didn't want it, said he never signed up to be a father. Please, Ethan, I know I've messed up. I know I've hurt you, but I can't be on the streets, not like this. I closed my eyes, tried to think clearly through the fog of sleep deprivation and shock. My heart raced with conflicting emotions, relief that she wasn't homeless, fear for her unborn child, doubt about whether I was being manipulated again. My mind flashed back to all the late-night emergency calls over the years. The just this once requests that never ended. The promises made and broken. The stress that kept me awake at night, grinding my teeth until my jaw ached. But she was my sister, and now supposedly carrying my future niece or nephew. Could I really turn my back on her? What kind of person would that make me? My parents' voices echoed in my head. Take care of your sister. It had been my assigned role since childhood, the responsible one, the fixer, the safety net. I took a deep breath, pushed down the warning bells clanging in my head. Okay, stay where you are tonight. Text me the address. I'll come get you in the morning. Her relief was palpable. Thank you so much. I swear things will be different this time. I hung up and lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was making another mistake, enabling her again. But what choice did I have? She was pregnant, my future niece or nephew, family. Sleep eluded me for the rest of the night. As I was getting dressed to go pick her up, my phone chimed with a text. Mark's number. Hey babe, when are you coming back? Did your brother take the bait? My blood ran cold. I read it again and again. A second text followed quickly. Shit, wrong number, ignore that. This is Mark. Then a third. Vanessa says sorry about the confusion. She'll explain everything when you get here. The realization washed over me like ice water. There was no pregnancy, no abandonment. This was another scam, another manipulation. Vanessa and Mark worked together to extract more money from me. My hands shook as I dialed my father's number. Dad, I need your advice. I explained everything, the late-night call, the pregnancy claim, the accidental text that revealed the truth. His sigh was heavy with sadness and resignation. I'm so sorry, son, your sister. She needs help we can't give her, professional help. What should I do? A long pause. What you should have done a long time ago, cut her off completely and report them for attempted fraud. My stomach lurched. You want me to call the police on Vanessa? I want you to do what's necessary for your own well-being, and maybe in the long run for hers too. I spent the morning gathering evidence, every text message, every email, bank statements showing transfers to Vanessa and Mark, screenshots of their vacation photos posted while they were supposedly broke, notes from each time they'd promised repayment. My hands trembled as I organized it all into a folder. Was I really doing this, preparing to report my own sister to the authorities? I felt sick to my stomach, lightheaded, my throat constricted as if invisible hands were choking me. What would our grandparents think if they were alive? What would this do to our parents, to our extended family? Would I be seen as the villain in this story? But then I remembered the calculated deception, the pregnancy lies, using an unborn child, a child that didn't even exist, to manipulate me. It was cruel, deliberate, predatory. I drove to the police station with my heart pounding so hard I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. Sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, my hand on the door handle, unable to make myself get out. A memory flashed through my mind. Vanessa at 8 years old, holding my hand on her first day of school, looking up at me with complete trust in her eyes. When had that little girl turned into this person who could lie so easily, who could use me without remorse? Tears burned my eyes. I wiped them away roughly, took a deep breath, and finally stepped out of the car. The police were surprisingly understanding. They'd seen cases like this before. Family members exploiting each other's trust. The officer listened patiently as I walked through the whole history. The pattern of loans never repaid, the escalating demands, the final deception about the pregnancy. She reviewed the text messages, the financial records, the social media posts that contradicted their claims of poverty. This is textbook financial exploitation, she said gently, and what they did with the fake pregnancy claim could constitute criminal fraud. Will they go to jail? I asked, my voice barely audible. That depends on several factors: prior records, the district attorney's decision, whether they accept responsibility. She leaned forward. I understand how difficult this is, but you're doing the right thing, not just for yourself, but potentially for others they might target. I thanked her, feeling hollow inside, like I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. That afternoon, Vanessa called again. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was venomous. She'd been visited by police, questioned about fraud. How could I do this to her, to my own blood? I was dead to her now. She never wanted to see me again. The relief I felt was immediate and overwhelming, like putting down a weight I'd been carrying for decades. I changed my number that day, blocked her on all social media, told my parents I needed time and space to heal. They understood. They'd finally reached their own breaking point with her too. 3 years have passed since then. I moved to a new city, started fresh, built a life free from the constant drama and manipulation. My parents visit occasionally. We never mention Vanessa directly, but I know from brief comments that they've distanced themselves too. The aftermath was messy, painful. The detective kept me updated when she could. Mark fled town before charges could be filed, left Vanessa to face the music alone. Just as Dad had predicted, he abandoned her when things got tough. Vanessa was charged with fraud, not just for what she'd done to me, but for a pattern of similar scams against former friends, colleagues, and even her previous in-laws. The evidence was overwhelming. She took a plea deal. 6 months in county jail, 3 years probation, mandatory financial counseling and therapy. My parents attended her sentencing hearing. I couldn't bring myself to go. Dad told me she looked small in the courtroom, defeated. When given the chance to speak, she blamed everyone but herself. The judge wasn't sympathetic. After her release, she moved in with a former cellmate, found work as a waitress, lasted 2 months before being fired for stealing from the register, moved to another state, another fresh start that would inevitably sour. Sometimes I receive anonymous envelopes with small amounts of cash. No note, no return address. I know it's from her. It's never much. $20, $50, once $100. I donate it all to a charity that helps victims of financial abuse. I heard through my cousin that she and Mark reconnected briefly online. Tried again. It ended the same way, him leaving, her spiraling. They were toxic together, each bringing out the worst in the other. A perfect, destructive harmony. Last I heard, she was couchsurfing, still spinning stories, still looking for the next person to rescue her. But her pool of potential saviors had shrunk dramatically. Too many burned bridges, too many warnings spread through family and social circles. The consequence of a lifetime of manipulation isn't a single dramatic fall. It's the slow, inexorable shrinking of your world. The gradual disappearance of people willing to give you another chance. Sometimes I feel guilty. Wonder if there was more I could have done, if I failed her somehow by walking away. But then I remember the years of lies, the broken promises, the deliberate exploitation of my love and concern, and I know I made the right choice. The hardest lesson I've learned is that you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. That sometimes loving someone means letting them face the consequences of their actions. That boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. To anyone who's trapped in a similar cycle of manipulation with a loved one, it's okay to walk away. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you finally love yourself enough to say no. I still think about Vanessa, wonder where she is, if she's changed, if she's found happiness. But I don't reach out, don't open that door again. Some relationships are too toxic to salvage. Some patterns too deeply ingrained to break. Some wounds can only heal with distance and time. I've made peace with that reality. And in doing so, I finally found peace within myself. There's one lesson I've learned through all of this. It's that love without boundaries isn't really love at all. It's dependent, enablement, a slow poison that harms both the giver and receiver. True love, whether for family, friends, or partners, requires honesty, respect, accountability. Without these foundations, what looks like love is actually fear, guilt, obligation. It took me 30 years to understand this truth, to recognize that by continuously rescuing Vanessa, I wasn't helping her. I was denying her the opportunity to grow, to face consequences, to become stronger. My only regret is that I didn't set those boundaries sooner, for both our sakes. The hardest choices are often the right ones. The most painful paths frequently lead to the most necessary destinations. I hope, somewhere out there, Vanessa has finally found her way. But my life can no longer be defined by that hope. I've learned to carry her in my heart without carrying her burdens on my back, and in that distinction lies all the difference.